Welcome to GoWP Digital Agency Owner Podcast, where we chat with members of our WordPress and adjacent communities to explore various paths and tools to success. I'm Arayo Arija, GoWP's Director of Creative Services. And at GoWP, we create happiness for digital agencies and help them become more profitable. So whether it's joining in weekly happiness hour calls or wanting to grow your team with a developer, copywriter, designer, or virtual assistant, we have the pros you need. We also have services like case studies, blogging, website maintenance, content edits, page builds that you can completely outsource to our amazing team of developers, assistants, and creatives. So to find out more, go to gowp.com or our social media channels, GoWP Support on Twitter and GoWP everywhere else. Now, let's welcome our guest. I'm super excited to welcome her. On Jennifer Bourn's website, she says, people do business with people they know and trust. And she invites visitors to get to know and trust her, as well as her services too. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Jennifer over the last few years, I think, on our Happiness Hour calls. And I had the pleasure of meeting her in the flesh last year at Cabo Press Conference. Her career began over 20 years ago as a graphic designer. She was also a web designer, and she's owned her micro agency for 16 years. She's blogged for 12 years and has been a course creator for 5 years. She loves writing, speaking, and mentoring, and that's why we have invited her to join us today. Welcome, Jennifer. Hello.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. You are beloved by GoWP and the whole WordPress community. So this is...
Thank you. That makes me feel really good.
Yeah, but it's true. We'll delve into the many reasons why that is during the conversation today. And typically when I'm interviewing someone, I start with their origin story, but I really wanted to reverse it this time. Rather than talk about your past first, I felt that what's happening in your life now is so dynamic. Let's start at the beginning. Let's be present. So you recently made a big career announcement. And for those who missed it, I wanted to know if you would mind sharing it with our listeners.
For the first time in 17 and a half years, I have a job. It even sounds weird still saying it out loud. I think when I was updating my LinkedIn bio, I struggled with hitting save. Like, this is so weird. But I think it's one of those things that I started my business to be home with my kids and my family and to be a present mom and to do things the way I wanted to do them in my family and what was right for us. And my business has supported every stage of life, but my kids are older now and they're going to college. And Brian, I worked with my husband for 10 years and he left my agency in 2019. So Brian went to go work somewhere else. And I found myself back on my own again as a solo freelancer. And I kept telling my friends, I hate working alone. I got so used to having a partner in crime and to working with other people that I really didn't like being back by myself. I like being part of a team and I like having people to bounce ideas off of and I like collaboration. And I think that's why I love my courses so much, is because I get to do that through coaching and the people in my programs. But I couldn't keep ditching the idea that like my services agency has been automated and the systems have been in place for so long. Every client project, while different, was also the same. It was rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And while the work is great and the impact on the clients is amazing and really fulfilling, it wasn't no longer challenging. And so I was at this point where I thought, I'm not really being challenged. I'm also not really liking working alone. And I wasn't sure what that next step was. I didn't know what changes I was going to make in my own business. And then here comes Chris, my friend, who's, hey, I just joined this company. I have this opportunity and it's everything that you want and more. And I'm not going to require you to stop doing all the other things that you love. And for me, that presented a really compelling opportunity. So now I have a full-time job as CMO of Motivations AI. I work with an incredible group of people. We were just talking this morning about how much fun the last couple months have been being a part of this team. And I still have my couple of my best clients I've kept, and I still run all my courses. But where most people start with a side hustle and take it full time, I'm taking my full-time gig and I'm making it a side hustle. And that's a weird thing.
It's a great situation to be in, but I don't want to say it's lucky, because we know that luck is simply preparation meeting opportunity. And I think those years of raising a family and all of the other like professional opportunities you've have brought you to this present moment. And it sounds fantastic, and congratulations. And I'm so happy for you. And so happy that you said that you were talking to your coworkers and you all were reflecting on the fun that you're having. And I've seen the individuals who you're working with, and I know Chris, I know these are dynamic individuals, so that you can have fun with that caliber of a team. That's great. You can't ask for much more. So what do you look forward to? What are you thinking about accomplishing in this role?
Oh my gosh, that's a really good question. I think the biggest thing is that when you are a freelancer and when you're solo, everything rests on your shoulders. So you come up with the strategy, you make the plan, and you do all the work to get it done. And the success or the failure rides on your shoulders and your shoulders alone. And there's a lot of pressure with that. And I am somebody who likes that pressure, but it is so nice to not have 100% of everything sitting on my own shoulders. And when you're a part of a team, you can move a whole lot faster because different people fulfill different roles and everybody's driving towards that same goal. So there's collaboration and like iron sharpens iron. So when you work with great people, they make you better and you make them better by simply sharing ideas and working together and saying, what if we did this? And what about this? And that's a great idea. You know what that made me just think of? And so pushing all of that together, I look at we're able to do more faster without burning out because it's no longer all on one person.
And one of the individuals who is a part of your current team and one who I've witnessed you interact with is Chris Lemma. I know a lot of people who are listening to us are probably aware of him, but he is the CEO of Motivation AI, but he's also a very well-known coach and blogger, prolific blogger. Individuals may know him through those different avenues, but at Calbo Press or your content camps or wherever you and Chris have the opportunity to collaborate, you mentioned the importance of collaboration. What is so striking to me is that you both really amplify each other's strengths, and your connection with Chris is so evident and it's so authentic. And it's very evident, mostly to me, that you both are cheerleaders for each other. You genuinely want each other to succeed. And you don't always find that in professional relationships. So I was curious if you could just speak to that for a moment and developing those type of authentic relationships. And what has Chris Lemma meant to your professional development? What have you learned from your partnership?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question.
I know.
Because he's now my boss, so I feel pressure to say really good things. No, I'm kidding. No, I think we met officially face-to-face for the first time back in 2013. And we met at a WordCamp at WordCamp San Francisco. He invited us to this dinner with all these people. And I'm thinking, why was I invited to this? Oh my gosh. And I kept thinking, there's no way that somebody is this generous. And there's got to be a catch. There's got to be, come on. But the more I got to know him, the more I just realized, nope. No, I'm not going to say he doesn't have a long-term plan here. You build relationships with people because you value what they bring to the table, right? But we immediately just clicked. Professionally and personally. Now I joke, I'm like, I grew up in a family of all girls. I only had sisters, and Chris is the brother that I never had. And so we vacation together and our families get along and our kids hang out together. And it's wonderful to find something. It's hard enough to find adult friends, let alone couples where you both like each other, and then kids where their kids like each other. That has meant a ton to our family, but professionally, it can be really hard to find people that truly support everything that you're doing and are happy for every bit of success that you have without judgment, or can hear you on your worst days, talk about your frustrations and your challenges and when you feel like everything is falling apart around you, and also not judge you or hold it against you. And when you have relationships like that with people where you can be 100% honest all the time and just share everything, there is a natural, I think, just appreciation back and forth of being able to hear from an objective third party, maybe things that you don't want to hear but need to be told, which sometimes happens quite often. But it's pretty amazing when you have somebody that can see you when sometimes you can't see you.
That's so true. That is so true. And I wanted to ask you what you think Chris might say you've learned from him. However, Jennifer, before you answer that, I have a surprise for you, because I did ask Chris that question directly, and he did.
Stop.
And he did respond. Now, this is not a talk show moment. He's not live. He's not going to join us and beam
Oh my
himself.
gosh.
He could, but he has submitted his response to me, and I would like to read that to you live. This is going to be recorded, but anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Chris says, Jennifer is one of the most talented creators on the planet, and I know a lot of people. Her ability to synthesize massive amounts of complex content and turn it into consumable material for people never stops surprising or delighting me. Over the last 10 years, what has directly shaped me the most is her willingness to shift, pivot, try new things. She's been at my side for the last few job changes, and her courage and support inspire me to step into the unknown.
Oh,
sounds like a vote of confidence from your boss, so I don't think you're in danger.
Oh my gosh, that's really nice. Wow, that makes me feel fantastic. But I think that's the dynamic. Like Sean Hesketh as well has joined Motivations AI. And when you have the ability to work with or just be supportive of friends in that regard, you do feel empowered to do anything. When you are like, could I do this? I don't know. I've never done it before. Could I be successful at this? Could I try this? Would it work? And when you have friends that push you to do things outside your comfort zone, and you have friends that are like, yes, you can do this, do it. And when you start making excuses and procrastinate because you're scared, and they're like, TikTok, get on it. Like, we're waiting. There's something amazing about that, because they don't let you hide, and they don't let you hold back, and they don't let you shy away from, right, stepping into greatness, whatever that looks like for you. And that's really, I think, at every big pivotal moment since I've known Chris, other than Brian, he has been my absolute biggest cheerleader. And I've talked through all the big decisions in my business and my life, and it's just fantastic to have people that you can do that with, that'll say, have you thought about this? What about this? That'll raise red flags if needed, or push you off the ledge if you're too afraid to jump.
Right. And it sounds like it's mutual. You both give each other, in a sense, that support and permission to step out into the unknown. And one thing we haven't mentioned, but I think it's a painful reality of the human nature in business, is that there is no hint of competitiveness between you two. Either of you is trying to hold back the other's development or opportunity. And sadly, that is not always the case for professional relationships. And I think how freeing, you are lucky in the sense that your paths have crossed, and it sounds like you and your families have both benefited. So
oh yeah, it has just been wonderful. It has been fantastic. It's been wonderful to see with our kids. It's been just, we grew up really fast. I got married the day after I turned 20. I bought a house, right? We bought a house 3 months later. I was a homeowner with a mortgage while I was in college. And our life path has looked a lot different than other people. And we grew up really fast, and we got to where most people don't get to until their 40s. We got there in our 20s.
yeah.
And we found it, Brian and I really struggled to establish or keep friendships with adults once they would get an inkling at how our lives might be different. Like we did, I don't think it's weird, but they made it weird. And so we just had a lot of friendships that would start strong and then they'd come over to our house or they'd see, so, and then they'd be like, yeah, we're not going to hang out anymore. And it was, I'm not going to lie, it was hard. And even in professional situations, you join communities and people make assumptions about what they know about you from social or all of these things. It's hard for adults to find really, truly authentic friendships where there's no hidden agenda. Like you said, no competition, just pure support, unconditional support. That's so valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. When you find it, you hold on to it and accept that it's real and lean into that. I could say so much more, but I don't think your children would appreciate it because what you just shared, I'm wondering, because I know you have, I think both of your children are college age now, I think.
Carter is he'll be a senior in high school this fall, and Natalie will be going into her junior year this fall in college.
I have to ask, since you said having that, stepping out into the unknown, what if one of your children came to you now and said, Mom, Dad, I'm going to get married. I'm going to do this.
I would die.
Okay.
It was a different world back then, kids. It was a different world.
This was a pre-social media days. Don't do it. Don't do it, kiddies.
I'm like, yeah, I would say, what? No, let's hold off. Let's hold off. Thankfully, neither one of my kids is even remotely close to anything like that. Yeah, so we don't want to even think about that.
I think they might give me the stink eye for even suggesting that, as I would have asked, but I had to go there.
While we're like, hey, Natalie, at the age you are right now, Dad and I were already engaged. And she's like, that's insane. You guys are crazy.
That's the best way to keep her from thinking about it, by telling her this is what Dad and I did. Not trying to have that, Mom. Next, I'd love to talk to you about, you mentioned how you got into this professional game mindset maybe earlier than most of your contemporaries, but I love the outlook you've had from the beginning. Prior to your new role, you spent the last 24 years leading Bourn Creative as content creator and strategist. And you can step in and correct me if I misspeak on your history, but you've coached and educated entrepreneurs through content camps. And I found a quote of yours. You said that your goal was to create and sustain a business that you loved, and one that would allow you to wake up every day excited and passionate, but also enjoying life along the way. And you certainly have had a full life along the way. So how can others out there, other freelancers, other agency owners, how can they put themselves or position to create and operate a business that they truly love themselves, and that it's more than a means to an end, more than a means to bills, college tuition, and all of that? What would your advice be to them?
Well, you can't do it when you try to be all things to all people and say yes to everything and be at everybody else's beck and call. It can't happen. And that's the biggest mistake I made in the beginning of my business, was saying yes to everything that came my way and thinking I just had to be at everybody else's beck and call. You snap your fingers, I jump. That's how it went. It took me a while to learn that's not exactly the best way to run a business. I think you have to decide, what do I want to be great at? Where do I want to go all in on something? And what do I love doing that somebody will pay me for, right? You have to figure that out and put your stake in the sand, and you have to be willing to draw some boundaries and say, I am not going to do this kind of work. I'm going to say no to these kind of projects or these kind of clients or this kind of commitment. But you have to figure, what do you enjoy? Look at your projects, look at your clients, look at everything you've done over the last couple of years, and sit down and give them all a grade, A, B, C, D, F, and see, what projects did you grade an A? What do they have in common? How do you shape your work around those kind of projects and those kinds of clients? And how do you hold strong boundaries to push everything else out? It can be a little scary to say, I'm only going to do this kind of work. And I'm going to turn down everything else. But that means that when you are working, you're working on stuff that lights you up and gets you excited instead of stuff that drains your energy. Then you don't have to make the switch like a light switch. It's not like all of a sudden you're going to wake up tomorrow and be like, everybody, if you don't fit this little description, you're out. Like, you can ease into these things over time. But I think when you narrow your focus and you look at the work that truly makes you happy, the things that you're like, I've been doing this for 5 hours, I forgot to eat lunch. That's the work you want to build your business around and your services around. That's how you wake up every day excited about what you're going to do. And everything else is all about holding the strong boundaries and resisting saying yes to things that don't align with that.
That is amazing advice that I think everyone should hear, of all walks of life. I love the idea of grading yourself. And I think that sometimes in our society, we get away from passion. Gets such a bad rap, but it is important to be a part of something or fill your time with something that lights you up. It's not guaranteed for anyone. And like you said, you don't have to just flip a switch and say you're either about this or you're out. But I think also that's probably another reminder why it's so important to have trusted voices in our lives. Like you mentioned, your husband, Brian, or what the role of Chris Lemma, people who are genuinely interested in your happiness and success and can feed into that. Hey, you do this really well. Did you ever think about this? Because sometimes we don't always see we're not willing to be honest with ourselves about our talents, gifts.
Oh yeah. And I think there's this, you see it everywhere, right? If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And you see all these things that I think they set the wrong expectations for work, right? Work doesn't have to be your identity. It doesn't have to be who you are. It doesn't have to define the value or the worth of your life. It's a thing that you do in part of your life. And you want to make sure that thing you do is not something that drains you, but something that you enjoy and something that lights you up. So if you are somebody who's, wow, I love helping clients figure out all these little details, then consulting, packages that are heavy in consulting and less on the execution might be good for you. If you're like, man, once we have a plan, I am the person that works that plan. Well, then the execution side is more for you. And I think people get so caught up in thinking narrowing down is about one specific kind of client. I'm only going to work with this type of person. And they're afraid. And they're thinking it's going to limit me. It's going to limit opportunity. And what if I don't work with one person? And I struggled with that forever. I'm like, I will do what I do for anybody, but I won't do anything for anybody. You can narrow your focus by whom you work on. Like people that say, we build with WordPress, or we build with Squarespace, or we use Keep, or we build with ActiveCampaign, whatever it is. You can specialize in a platform. You can specialize in a type of service, e-commerce, membership, learning. You can specialize in a type of client, in an industry or a vertical. You can specialize in size of business. You can specialize in how long somebody has been in business. There are a lot of different ways, but it's figuring out, hey, what had made me the happiest and how do I do more of that? And that's where grading all your past clients and projects come into play. When you take a look at A, B, C, D, F, clearly you're like, oh, we're never doing projects that got the C's, D's, and F's again. But let's look at those A's and B's. What made it a B? What made it an A? What are the commonalities? And how do we do more of this?
I love all of the advice that Eric's giving today. And I think that it's fair to say a lot of this you've lived out, you've developed. These weren't fully formed ideas at 18.
No, I've made every bad decision first.
You've walked through the fire so that we wouldn't have to. And that actually brings up a good point. Even if you do everything that Jennifer and others say, there may come time in someone's life that something needs to be adjusted.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it was in one of your blog articles or somewhere I came across another quote of yours. And you said that earlier in your career, you found yourself overworked, overwhelmed and exhausted. Are you laughing because you recognize the time? And thankfully, we know that's not how your story ended. You're thriving and you've really figured a lot of this out. You didn't burn out and walk away, but there are so many agency owners that do.
I almost did.
Yeah, it's very realistic. And I think people need to be prepared for that eventuality and guard against it. A lot of times people ask on podcasts like this or interviews, they ask, what would you tell your youngest self if you could? That's so disingenuous, because we all know we wouldn't have listened to our older selves. We would just say, shut up, you're over 30. I'm not gonna listen to you. I'm 21, I know it all. But I'm more interested in, if you could talk to your younger self just starting out in business, what would you tell yourselves about the tough and challenging times to come? What would you say to young Jennifer? Hey, really lean into this experience that's coming and really take in everything it has to teach you. What would those moments be that you would say, really pay attention? I'm sorry to this at you.
I would say that the biggest, most spectacular, most amazing things are on the other side of some of your worst moments. So the bad days are going to come, but they're not going to last. And you'll get through it. And what's on the other side will be better. You'll be better because you'll have learned and you'll have that experience. But most of the best, most spectacular things come as a result of the hard days. And that just because you think you've solved one problem doesn't mean another one's going to pop up. And that just because you think, like, people think that when they get to the next stage of business, everything's going to be better. When I get to this next milestone, everything's going to be better and easier and different. And that is a misconception. Every time you level up in your business, every time you level up as the business owner, every time you level up in your services, in your capabilities, things change and you have to tweak and you have to adjust. And every time you get to that new level, guess what? All the things you had dialed in aren't dialed in anymore. And you're going to go back to having some of those same issues, but at a different level. They're just different. And that I think there is no success 100% of the time. It isn't sunshine and roses every day, but that ebb and flow will come. It's a natural part of business. It's a natural part of life, and you will get through it and get some friends because it is going to be in your best interest to vent to your friends and not on social media.
Both professionally and probably legally in some cases. It's best not to type out everything that you have in your mind.
And make sure you have that person that's going to say, when you do make the mistake of putting it on social, that walks in and says, take that down, delete it right now.
I hope that Brian or Chris have not had to say that.
No, oh yes. Oh yes. They're like, delete that right now. That's not a good look.
All of your
like
posts.
I said, I've made all the bad decisions before I learned all the good lessons.
And you're smiling today and laughing. So see, there is sunshine on the other side. I love it. Thank you for being vulnerable, Jennifer. I have in my script that our next topic is the future. And I'm really excited to talk about all the good things that are happening in your life now, in your career now. But we haven't talked at all about content camps, because that's actually was really where I first got to know you. Yeah. If someone is really thinking about what to do with their content marketing and their message of the branding, I really encourage them to go to Jennifer's website and read what she has to say. Are there content camp dates set yet for 2023?
They are set. And by the time this podcast is live, the dates will be on those pages. They are in May, in August, and in November this year. Oh, great. So Content Camp Brand Messaging is happening in May of 2023. Content Camp website copy is in August, and Content Camp content marketing is in November. But when you sign up, you get access to all of the workshops and the workbooks, so you can check out everything and get to work. So when you get to the event, then that's when you get coaching and you get support and copy editing and reviews and all of those kinds of things as well.
I couldn't speak enough for the value of Content Camp. Jennifer leads her own sessions, but she has a great gift of bringing together a talented cadre of all the right presenters. And it's a great event. So I definitely encourage individuals who want to grow in this area to go to her site. And next week she'll have the dates up. So sign.
Will.
She will.
You're not the first person that's Jen. Do you have dates for this yet?
Oh, don't worry. This podcast, it won't be edited by then. So take your time. But definitely look into that, sign up. She's a great resource, but she puts together all the resources that you can really grow and learn from. But what else, Jennifer, on the turnpike, so to speak, for you and your future? Personally, professionally, what are you most excited about that's coming up for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I am reworking some different things in my courses and programs to restructure some of those, mainly because I am taking a full-time business to a side hustle, which means I love what I'm doing and I don't want to stop doing it, but I need it to take less time of mine. I'm restructuring some of those things and I'm really excited about how it's coming together and some of the things that I'm going to put together for that. I'm really excited because I have some great vacations planned, but I'm the most excited about what we're doing at Motivations AI. If you are not familiar with that brand, it's a personality assessment, but it's a personality assessment based on your own stories and times in your life where you felt like successful and fulfilled and fantastic about what you were doing. And when I took that assessment the first time, way before I worked there, it was the first time I got the results to an assessment and thought, whoa, that was accurate and useful. And so we're reworking some of that and getting ready to roll out an updated version of that report with even more details about how you use the results in your business and your life to make better decisions. And everything at Motivations AI across all of our brands is all about helping people live a fulfilled, happy, joyous life where they're engaged in the work that they're doing and they feel like they're making a meaningful contribution and they're enjoying what they're doing and they're all in, right? And that aligns with all of the things I believe in and what I've done in my personal life of living inspired, right? And showing up and building something that supports the kind of life you want to live. And so I'm excited to get this in the hands of more people, right? And have more people get that kind of understanding about themselves so they can make decisions in their business or their career that align with the things that light them up. So they wake up every day inspired as well.
If you have not been inspired today by listening to Jennifer Bourn, go into the bathroom and slap yourself. You don't have feeling. Jennifer, this has been a wonderful conversation, and I know that we've been trying to get together for a while, and I'm glad that it happened in this moment. Thank you. It's very inspiring listening to you talk about those things that inspire you and how you got there. I wanted to encourage anyone listening who wants to read more about Jennifer's mentoring, her courses that we referenced in today's conversation, go to jenniferbourn.com, and Bourn is spelled BOURN.com. For the longest time, I kept spelling your name like the Matt Damon series. There's no E.
Everybody.
I know.
I'm like, Jennifer Bourn, no E. No, I'm not related to Jason Bourne. Don't make that joke. Thank you very much. Okay, goodbye.
I thought you'd probably heard that before, but I finally have taught myself to drop the E. But you can go to Jennifer's site to read more about her upcoming content camps, brand messaging, website copy, content marketing. It's all there. And she is definitely a woman who knows what she's talking about and knows how to show you how you can apply it to your own agency and or your life. So thank you, Jennifer, for today's talk. And I hope that we should check back in with you in about a year or so and see how the real job, since you have a real job.
That would be great. See if I can say the word job any easier.
I think the the more you say it, the more it is true.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And you can get this and other episodes of our podcast wherever you get your podcast. And a quick reminder at GoWP, again, we want to create happiness. We want to make you profitable. So join us for a weekly happiness. And we have great webinars that you can find on YouTube and that you can attend live and be a part of our community. So go to GoWP.com to read more about our services. And you can even schedule a call.